The Helper's Hands. My name is Liam. I lived with my little sister Lily and our grandfather. Our small house was near a quiet forest. Life was simple, and we were very happy together. Every morning, grandfather would make us pancakes for breakfast. He would tell us stories about the stars and the animals in the woods. His voice was warm and kind. Lily was 7 years old, with bright, curious eyes. She loved to play in our small garden behind the house. She would talk to the flowers and the little ladybugs. I was 14, and I tried to help grandfather with many things. I would chop wood for the fire and carry water from the well. I felt proud when he called me his big helper. Our life had a calm and gentle rhythm, like a slow song. The sun would wake us up, and the moon would watch us sleep. We did not have much, but we had each other. One evening, everything started to change. Grandfather did not eat his dinner. He said he was feeling very tired and went to bed early. This was unusual for him. The next morning, he did not get out of bed at all. His face was very pale and he was breathing heavily. Lily and I became very worried when we saw him like that. I touched his forehead, and it felt very hot. "Grandfather, are you okay?" I asked him softly. He opened his eyes, but he could not speak a word to me. Lily started to cry quietly in the corner of the room. I took her hand and told her to be brave for him. I knew I had to be strong for both of them now. I ran to our neighbor's house and asked for help. Mr. Henderson was a kind man, and he called for a doctor right away. The waiting felt like many long years. Soon, an ambulance came with its flashing lights. 2 people in white coats carefully put grandfather on a stretcher. They said they had to take him to the hospital. We watched the ambulance drive away down the dusty road. The house suddenly felt very big and very empty without him. The quietness was a new, sad sound. That night I made dinner for Lily. It was just soup and bread, not like grandfather's warm meals. We ate in silence at the big wooden table, feeling very small. Lily asked me, "Will grandfather come home tomorrow, Liam?" I did not know the answer to her question. I just hugged her and said, "He is very strong. He will be okay." The next few days were the hardest. We visited the hospital, but we could only see him for a few minutes. He was sleeping most of the time, connected to machines. The doctor told me that grandfather was very sick. He said it would take a long time for him to get better. He also said that the hospital bills would be expensive. I looked in the small money tin that grandfather kept on a shelf. There were only a few bills and some coins inside. A cold feeling of fear filled my stomach. I knew then that I had to do something. I was the older one. I had a new responsibility to take care of Lily and our home. I could not just sit and wait for things to happen. The next day, I started to look for work in our small town. I went to the market, the bakery, and the little bookstore. But everyone said the same thing to me. "You are too young to work here, son," they would say kindly. "Go back to school and do not worry about these things." But I could not stop worrying about them. I felt very discouraged after 2 days of searching. No one wanted to hire a 14-year-old boy. I walked home slowly, thinking about what to do next. I remembered something grandfather once said. He talked about an old farm at the very edge of town. He said a reclusive man lived and worked there all by himself. People in town did not talk about him much. His name was Mr. Mark, and they said he was a bit strange. They said he did not like visitors and kept to himself. But I was desperate and had no other choices left. I decided that I would walk to his farm the next morning. I would ask him if he needed any help with his work. That night, I told Lily a story before she went to sleep. It was a story about a brave knight who had to fight a dragon. I think the story was for me more than it was for her. The next morning, I woke up very early, before the sun. I left a note for Lily on the kitchen table. It said I went for a long walk and would be back soon. The walk to the farm was longer than I thought. The road became a small dirt path. I could see the old farm in the distance. It looked very big and quiet. The farm had a long, old wooden fence all around it. The paint was peeling, and some parts were broken. A big, dark barn stood in the middle of the fields. I felt a little scared as I got closer to the gate. What if Mr. Mark was an angry man? What if he shouted at me and told me to go away from his property? I took a deep breath and pushed the old wooden gate open. It made a loud, creaking sound as it moved. I walked slowly up the path toward the farmhouse. The house was small and looked very old, just like the barn. There was no smoke coming from the chimney. Everything was quiet except for the sound of the wind. I knocked on the front door. My hand was shaking a little. I waited for a few moments, but no one came to the door. I knocked again, a little bit louder this time. Just as I was about to turn and leave, the door opened. A very old man stood there. He was tall and thin, with a long white beard and deep, tired eyes. He did not look angry, but he did not look friendly either. He just looked at me with a curious expression. "What do you want, boy?" he asked. His voice was rough. I am looking for work, sir," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I heard you have a farm. I'm a very hard worker, and I can do anything you need." The old man, who I knew must be Mr. Mark, looked at me for a long time. His gaze was so intense that I felt like he could see all my fears and worries. He looked at my small hands and my worn-out shoes. "A farm is not a place for a boy like you," he said. "The work is hard, and the days are very long here." "I am not afraid of hard work, sir," I said quickly. "I need this job very much. I will do anything you ask, and I will not complain about it." He continued to stare at me in silence for another minute. I thought he was going to close the door in my face. I held my breath, waiting for his final answer. "Come back tomorrow morning when the sun comes up," he finally said. "We will see if you are telling the truth about hard work." He did not smile when he said it. Then, before I could say thank you, he closed the door. I stood there for a moment, surprised, but also very happy. I had a chance. It was a small chance, but it was enough. I ran all the way back home. I felt a new energy in my legs. For the first time since grandfather got sick, I felt a little spark of hope light up inside of me. When I got home, Lily was sitting at the table reading my note. She looked worried, but her face lit up when she saw me. "Where were you, Liam?" she asked. I told her I found a small job at a farm. I told her I would be working there to help us. I promised her that everything was going to be okay for us now. That night, for the first time in many days, we both slept well. The house did not feel so empty anymore. It felt like it was filled with a new sense of purpose. The next morning, the sky was still dark when I left the house. I walked the long path to the farm again. Mr. Mark was already waiting for me by the barn door. He did not say good morning. He just handed me a pair of thick gloves. "The chickens need to be fed, and their coop needs to be cleaned," he said, pointing. The work was much harder than I had imagined. My muscles ached after only 1 hour of working. But I did not complain. I just thought about Lily and grandfather. Mr. Mark watched me work for most of the day. He never offered to help me. He just stood there with his arms crossed, watching me with his serious, tired eyes. At the end of the long day, the sun was setting. My whole body was sore, and I was covered in dirt. He came over and gave me a few coins for my work. It was not a lot of money, but it felt very important. It was the first money I had ever earned by myself. I thanked him, and he just gave me a small nod. This became my new routine. I would wake up before sunrise and work on the farm for hours. Then I would go home to make sure Lily was ready for her day. In the evenings, we would visit grandfather in the hospital. He was getting a little bit better each day. Seeing him smile gave me the strength to continue. With my first week's pay, I bought Lily a small chocolate bar. Her eyes lit up with so much joy. That small moment made all the hard work feel worth it. I started to get stronger. The work did not make me as tired as before. I learned how to mend a fence, how to stack hay, and how to tell if it was going to rain. I also learned more about Mr. Mark. I saw that he was not an angry man, just a very lonely one. He talked to his cows in a quiet, gentle voice when he thought no one was listening. He never praised me for my work, but sometimes when I finished a task, I would find a glass of cold water waiting for me. It was his silent way of saying thank you. One day, he showed me how to care for a sick lamb. His hands were very gentle with the small animal. I saw kindness in him that he tried to hide from the world. A silent respect started to grow between us. We did not talk much, but we worked together every day. We understood each other through our shared work on the farm. One afternoon, the sky turned a dark gray color very quickly. Big, heavy clouds rolled in over the fields. A storm was coming, and it looked like a very bad one. Mr. Mark looked up at the roof of the old barn. "There's a loose panel up there," he said, more to himself than to me. "It will not survive a strong wind." He brought out a tall, old wooden ladder and placed it against the barn. He started to climb up with a hammer and some nails. I held the bottom of the ladder for him. The rain started to fall, cold and heavy. A strong wind came, and the ladder shook very hard. Mr. Mark almost lost his balance on the high roof. I shouted, "Be careful, sir!" I ran and held the ladder with all my strength to keep it steady. My heart was beating fast from the fear I felt for him. He looked down at me, surprised by my action. He climbed down a few steps. "Boy, go get that rope from the shed. We will do this work together," he said. We worked in the pouring rain for almost an hour. We tied the ladder down and fixed the loose panel on the roof. We were both completely wet and cold. When we finally finished, the storm was starting to pass. Mr. Mark looked at me. For the first time, a small, real smile appeared on his old face. "Good work, Liam," he said. Hearing him say my name and praise me felt better than anything. I felt taller and stronger in that moment than I ever had before. From that day on, something changed between us. He started to teach me more about the farm. He treated me less like a worker and more like a grandson. Weeks passed, and grandfather's health got much better. One day, the doctor called us with the best news. He told us that grandfather could finally come home. Lily and I were so happy, we danced around the small kitchen. We spent the whole day cleaning the house. We wanted everything to be perfect for his return. The next day, Mr. Henderson brought him home from the hospital. Grandfather looked thinner and older, but his kind eyes were still the same. He was finally home. He walked into the clean house and looked around. He saw Lily, happy and healthy. Then he looked at me. He saw how much I had changed in a few short months. My hands were rough from the farm work. I was a little bit taller and my shoulders were broader. I was not just a boy anymore. I stood up straight and tall. That evening, I told him everything. I told him about my fears, about my job with Mr. Mark, and about taking care of Lily. He listened quietly to my whole story. When I finished, he pulled me into a hug. It was a long, warm hug that said everything. I could feel his tears on my shoulder, and I cried a little bit too. He looked at me and Lily, and his eyes were full of love. "You have both grown so much," he said softly. "I am so very proud of you." Our family was whole again. I hope this session was helpful. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting stories. Take care, everyone.